What's up, fish gang? Welcome back to Monster Fish Only, aka Mofo Fish. We talk about monster fish and monster tanks. I'm your host, OGP, and today we're talking about the giant Danio. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's not really like a monster fish. Well, actually, yes, it is, because it's the biggest species out of the Danios. And that's where we're at with it. So, DJ, run the intro.
DJ Kid, this a hit for sure. Caught some fishes out the pond and I put them in a box. Mix that old sponge with that new one when them filters out the box. Got some monsters in that glass, boy, they really down the box. Said I'm messed up in the head, cause I really like to watch. Yeah, I put them in a box. Mix that old sponge with that new one when the filters out the box. Got some monsters in that glass, boy, they really down the box. Said I'm messed up in the head, cause I really like to watch.
Let's dive in. So, first thing we're going to talk about is the size. They usually get to about 4 to 5 inches. That's going to be the maximum expectancy. Can't really see it right now, but I have a giant one that is in the pack. If you can kind of see them floating around back there, extra points for you. I actually got those guys on sale at Petco for like $1.99 a piece. So, you know, might as well go ahead and talk about that too. Price range is usually somewhere between $2 and somewhere between like $9 to $10, just depending on where you get it from. Next, where they are pretty much naturally found in the wild, it's pretty much in India, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Thailand. So, you know, the thing that's interesting about these species are they're pretty hardy, but what I've kind of learned just in the short stint of actually keeping them is that they do enjoy the warmer water. You can keep them in cooler temperatures as long as you keep it consistent, but they do enjoy the warmer water. You get a lot of brighter, better colors. So it's a really interesting species when you really get to it. About their behavior, they're very social. They are obviously a schooling fish, so they do enjoy being in a group of at least 6 or more. I had 3 for a short period of time, just trying to get this tank cycled and acclimated, and that's pretty much all Petco had at the time. You know, they had a little bit of the behavior until I added in the rest of them. I got about 10 in there now from a couple different stores, and they all got along just fine. They can be a little frisky with one another. It just depends. Some fish can just be, you know, psychopaths, and some fish get along just fine. All of mine, luckily, are getting along. Even the big, fat, healthy one, he's blended in with everybody, no issues whatsoever. So the tank level that they'll kind of like to dwell at is usually between the top and usually the middle range. If you feed them sinking pellets or anything like that, they will go down there and they'll be down there for a long time. They're typically up, you know, gliding along the top and somewhere around the middle. You can see it pretty good right there. They'll stay together all day. It's pretty cool. So let's talk about tank size. Your minimum tank size, the internet's going to tell you, you know, 30 gallons, but you know, maybe get away with a small school, you know, of 6 and a 20 long, but that's not really the best fish keeping. You know, I try to give people the best, reasonably best fish keeping advice. Here's a 55 gallon. They are going to spend the rest of their lives here in this 55 gallon tank. It's 4 feet. That's plenty of space for them. They are extremely active, so, you know, the bigger the tank, the better. That's always with every species, but they need at least that 4 feet to, you know, swim. They're very, 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 very active fish. They're great dither fish.
Fair minimum.
20 gallon long, but again, this should be the minimum standard, which would be the 55. So let's talk about their diet. Their diet is they're omnivores. So, you know, you throw the bloodworms and the larvae and stuff like that, they'll go crazy for that. I feed them this stuff right here, tetramin. Never even read the name. Yeah, grabbed it off the shelf. It works just fine for them. It's flake stuff too. Believe it or not, they go crazy over these little shrimp pellets. A lot of my fish actually go crazy over these fish pellets. So I'm not sponsored. I don't have a brand or anything like that. But Alcyon, you know, they do their thing, bro. They give you little coupons and stuff in there. $2 off. I would totally take advantage. And again, I'm not sponsored at this point in time. Hopefully sometime in the future maybe, but not right now. But yeah, they give you little coupons and stuff. I use Prime only because it has a higher concentration. So for the same or similarly priced bottle, you get way more usage out of it. That's pretty much it, you know. But it doesn't mean that the products don't work. Don't mean the products suck. Just means you get a little bit more bang for the buck. Except pretty much any type of food. They eat like crazy too. So when you throw it in there, they're gonna turn into complete savages and just go absolutely crazy. So keep that in mind with the types of species you're planning on keeping it with. So if you have some slower swimming species that are not gonna be as capable to get there as fast, you might put them in a bad spot. They might start getting skinny. The care level for these guys is at easy. You get an E for easy. There is no way to mess this up. Like seriously, glass box, water, fish, food, that's it. Like they don't even need a heater. You know, they really don't. They are extremely hardy. That's why I kind of started my tank with them. There's a couple goldfish in there. Some cheap feeder goldfish that I was planning on feeding to my big old Oscars, but they kind of grew on me. Sue me. Yeah, and then I threw the Danios in there because they are extremely hardy, and obviously I used some former and already established media and some plants and some filtration, so the tank was almost immediately cycled. Took like 24 hours, threw some prime in there. I have zero issues. pH, if you kind of watch all that, I really don't, you know, mess around with that stuff too much. I mean, get it, you know, test your water. Of course, test your water. Depending on where you live, you could have some wonky pH that could really jack it up, but most of these aquarium species have been bred, you know, in tanks with similar water. There are species and there are certain things that need stuff, and there's always going to be variables. There's always going to be things that, you know, are outliers. But pretty much, if you have some tap water, you know, do your due diligence, of course. But pretty much, if you have some tap water, fill your tank up with it, like I did. Throw your fish in with some prime, and they will be fine. I mean, straight up. I'm just being honest here. Last but not least, we'll cover is temperature. So, you know, when it comes down to keeping these guys, again, I hinted at it a little bit earlier, you can keep them in cooler water, but if you want to get the most out of this fish, the most activeness, you know, the best, brightest colors, largest growing, you know, most personality, you probably want to keep them around like 75, 76 degrees. And get them in that range, and they'll be fine. I think this tank is sitting at about 76, 77. I'm having, you know, healthy, productive, happy fish in here. These are the temperatures that I keep it at. This is stuff that I'm recommending, you know, with over 15 years in the hobby. I'm just throwing it out there. Keep it relative. I mean, everything that I'm talking about here is super simple stuff. You know, these guys are very low maintenance fish. They're great dither fish. So, yeah, I do got an Oscar, and I do have a green terror inside of this aquarium. They're small. I'm using this kind of as a grown out for them. They're going to be going down to the big boys downstairs when they get enough size. And, you know, these guys do make a great dither species for them. If they do get stressed out, though, they do turn almost like Snow White. So pay attention to that. You know, if your fish are, you know, really pale, you know, figure out what's going on. Something's wrong. Figure it out. Last but not least, the thing that I wanted to hint on the most, can't remember now. I remember now. Just something you want to keep in mind when you're keeping these fish is they are schooling fish. So be mindful of the type of fish that you try to keep them with. I threw in some Buenos Aires tetras with those guys, and they kind of were getting really confused and trying to swim around with each other. And, you know, the Buenos Aires were like trying to find their buddies and like, what the heck? And it turned into like just a chaotic mess. Be mindful of the type of species that you're going to try to house them with, because they will try to get along with everybody. And that can be a little bit chaotic if the fish are just not all on the same page. So, of course, it was a pain in the neck when I moved all the Buenos Aires over into this little 10-gallon over here, which, you know, this is going to be a temporary system for them as of right now. They'll be fine. You know, I checked all the levels. Everybody's good. I'm going to move some fish around here. I've got plenty of tanks. We'll work something out. I thought they were going to, you know, co-mingle, but just kind of be separate in two different types of schools, looking all nice, and it didn't turn into that. I've got mine with some Rosaline. I have obviously the green terror and the Oscar fish that's inside there. So a couple goldfish which I use to kind of help start the tank. I've got bristlenose pleco, 4-line catfish. Oh, some snails. I knew I had something else in there. I've got some snails. So, you know, you want to establish a really good ecosystem inside of any aquarium, but you know, especially for this species, they're great because they eat everything that's up at the top and in the middle section. It's a good little ecosystem. But anyway, that's all I got for you today. I'm out the tank. Thanks for watching. And if you haven't, like and subscribe to the channel. Join the fish gang. I'm out the tank. Peace.